Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and we have a bonus episode here today. We're with Tom Guerra. He's a good friend of the show. Tom's got a new album out. It's called American Garden. And I originally interviewed Tom back in episode 179, and I would encourage you to go listen to that. You can go to iTunes and you can find it. Tom's last name is Guerra, Guerra, or you could just enter elg.fun/Guerra. Again, Guerra. And, or you can go to the Everyone Loves Guitar website or iTunes or whatever you subscribe to. But, I want to talk to you about Tom's record. I got Tom here and have some questions for him. Tom, let's face it, making a record today isn't easily. It's not done very easily, you know?
Yeah.
And what was even your motivation to put a record out? Because this isn't like an EP. This is a full-blown record.
Yeah. Well, going back a couple of years, going back several years, I was with a band called Mambo Sons, and we were on a small indie label, and we did 4 albums over a 10-year period. And then at that point, the owner of the label passed away, and the band continued to play live, but we stopped making records. And I continued to write during all this period. And then in 2014, I came out with my first solo album, which was All of the Above. And then 2 years later, I did the Trampling Out the Vintage album. And then right after Trampling Out the Vintage, the bass player on that album, the great legendary Kenny Aaronson, who plays with the Yardbirds, got in touch with me saying, hey, the Yardbirds are recording a new studio album, and I want to write some stuff for that album, and I want to write some stuff with you. Are you up for it? I said, of course I'm up for
Twist
it.
My arm. Yeah,
exactly. So we, for the next 6 months, we wrote about 6 tunes, and 3 of them really were developed to pretty much the point of, where the demos sounded like the real deal, the record itself. So they were presented to the Yardbirds, the 3, and Jack Douglas, the producer who was going to produce the record, liked those, gave us real positive feedback. And then, next thing I'm writing charts out for the Yardbirds, and I'm like, this is great, And meanwhile, I was writing a bunch of other stuff for myself. And then at kind of the 11th hour, unfortunately, the Yardbirds pulled the plug on the studio album.
What?
So Kenny was upset. I was upset. It was an internal decision, kind of a political thing. And I just said to Kenny, I said, screw it, man. I said, these songs are great. I said, I'm putting them out on my own album. Give me 6 months or so.
Awesome.
So I took those 3 tunes, and I, at this point, had written about 6 or 7 others for my record, and then took, I think, 5 out of the other new ones I had written, and then combined them with 2 covers that I did, and came out with American Garden, which was released in 2018.
That's awesome. Good story, man. It's good. It's cool how you didn't get deterred, and you believe so much in the songs that you said, fuck it, I'm going to do this on my own.
Right, exactly, and that's exactly the attitude I had, because I was bummed out. Kenny was bummed out. And I was bummed out because this was like a great, we wrote these songs for that band. I wrote the guitar parts for Johnny A., who was the lead guitar player. And I'm like, and a friend of mine, and we talked about it, and I'm like, Johnny is going to kill on these things. He's since left the band.
Oh, Johnny left the band. I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah, they've since canceled a bunch of dates as well. So I don't know what's going on there, but but then after the shock of the cancellation, we were over that. I just said, you know what? I said, screw it, man. These songs I really believe in, and I want to get them out there, and I've got the vehicle to do that, and it's my next solo record.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do any of the I kind of think I know what you're going to say, but do any of the songs have a particular significance, and is there like an overall theme or message that the record is trying to express?
It's kind of a snapshot / slice of life as to what I'm seeing happening today. Some of the songs are personal, based upon experiences that I've had. The title track is personal because it was based on some conversations I've had with some Vietnam veterans and what they experienced, the way they were treated by the government. So there's some cynicism in there, but there's also some hope, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So I think it's not like a single concept album, more of like a collection of stuff that I've experienced, and that's kind of what the gist of it is.
Your voice sounds great on there, as always, man. I always dig your singing.
Oh, I appreciate that, because I'm a guitar player first, I think, and I've kind of got into singing because just out of pure necessity. And
a lot of guys do that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've worked with some great singers over the years and have written for them. And I mean, I have, I think my voice maybe has a certain characteristic that I'm trying to make work for me. But I mean, you think of the great singers. Well, there's great voices, and then there's sort of great stylists.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Dylan's got a great, I think he's got a very distinctive voice.
Oh God, yeah.
That isn't necessarily technically great. Same with Jagger.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got guys like Paul Rodgers or Freddie Mercury who are just, great voices.
Yes.
And I know I would never be like that. So I kind of write these songs to make them work for me, so I can kind of maybe use my own type of expression to get the songs across.
No, your voice is great. But what's really funny is you're one of these guys where your speaking voice and your singing voice are completely mutually exclusive from one another. So when I first, I've listened to this, your second album I've listened to now, but when I first listened to the last record, it was really weird because, again, your speaking voice is not the same, and your singing voice is, honestly, it's really nice. And so it just didn't sound like, it's just like, what? So you try to, it's like, this is the same dude?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, although the song American Garden does have spoken word verses, so that probably sounds like me. I hope it does.
No, that, but I'm talking about your regular, the actual singing stuff that you do.
Yep. Yeah.
Any special guests or musicians on the record?
Well, Kenny appears throughout on bass, but he was actually less of a special guest and more of just a partner in crime. Mm-hmm. Morgan Fisher from Mott the Hoople and also Queen plays keyboards, and then John Butcher makes an appearance on Blood on the New Rising Sun.
Great song.
And I just am in process of recording a track with John for his new album that's going to be coming out. So looking forward to doing that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Very cool, man. Let's talk about a few of the songs.
Sure.
Walls. That's a Tom Petty. Is that a cover of a Tom Petty song?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I read the liner notes on your, and I didn't know that was a Petty song. It sounded great, man.
Yeah. I liked it because, well, I've always loved Tom Petty. I mean, since he came out with the first album, I'm like, there's something special about this guy, because like the greatest rock and rollers, you could kind of trace his lineage back to the original rock and rollers, the guys like Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis and Buddy Holly, and then the Beatles, Stones, Byrds, that type of thing. So I always just felt like, and I did get to meet the Heartbreakers and hang out with them, and have interviewed Mike Campbell a couple times. And when Tom when we got word last year that he had first we heard he had died, then we heard he was kind of clinging to life, and we held sort of a vigil. And a friend of mine was with his daughter at the time, was with Tom's daughter at the time, and he was kind of texting me every 5 minutes, this is what's going on, and they're getting the band together in the hospital, and then, okay, he's just passed. And so I was kind of, once removed, involved in that, and it just struck me because I love Petty. I mean, the Wilburys, I mean, come on. I mean, he's
traveling Wilburys. I do remember that.
Greatness. So anyway, I think the next night after he had passed, I was, working on some of the Yardbird stuff at the same time, and went into the studio, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going for this track, and just recorded Walls, just quickly put it down. It was always one of my favorite sort of, semi-obscure Petty tracks, and when I recorded it, I kind of played a guitar solo that I thought would be something Mike Campbell played, even though he doesn't have a guitar solo in the studio version. If you listen to it, it's sort of like, I hope it's, kind of in the same line of what Mike would play, because I think Mike is a great guitar player who always plays whatever the song requires. So
that's what the solo was. It sounded great in there. It's exactly what the song required.
Yeah, thank you. It's that was going through a Leslie, and that was actually a Gibson 330 going through a Leslie. Yeah.
Man, it sounded like a Strat. It's interesting.
There are Strats on the rhythm guitar parts, just a Strat and an acoustic guitar. But that solo, and I tried different guitars, including a Strat actually, but the Gibson had a little bit more bottom end and a more beef to it. So I kind of used that and said, yep, pretty much did that in one take, and let's do that,
330, how is that different from a 335?
330 is a true hollow body. 335 has that center block, and it's got single coil pickups. It's got P90s in it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's a little, if it was played with a, and to me, I've always been a single coil guy because I like sort of the clarity of it. Mm-hmm. Although there's a bunch of humbuckers on this album as well, but for that particular track I used, and the 330 I have has a Bigsby on it, so you'll hear that in the solo as well,
And then at the end of this song, if you listen real carefully, you hear like a slight whisper, "Thank you, Tom."
Yep, that was me. That was me. I mean, and that was sort of, I recorded that when I did the lead vocal track. I mean, it was one pass through the whole thing, and I was just kind of in a, I don't know if it's a spiritual mood or whatever, but I was just very kind of choked up when I recorded that because like I said, I love that guy. So I just said, thank you, Tom, for all, basically for giving us 4 decades of great music.
Yeah, that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. It was like not expected. And then, sorry.
No, I appreciate that.
And then you have the song where John Butcher is in there in the Blood on the New Rising Sun. Great track. In the beginning, there's a really cool slide lick. Is that you or John?
It's actually John, but it's not a slide lick. He's just kind of, I know the exact part you're talking about. It sounds, it is like a lick that you would play with a slide, but he's kind of just doing it straight, and he plays great on that track, and I was so glad that he was enthusiastic about collaborating on that.
Song was great. Obviously, you're welcome. The lyrics in there expresses your discomfort with our current leadership. Does Blood on the New Rising Sun? What's this? Is there any specific significance for that particular for the title?
Well, yeah, there really is, and it was. I remember waking up on that Saturday when the Charlottesville riots were going on, and turned on the news, and there was a guy, a young African American guy. I don't even know who his name, but it showed him, and he was like being pulled out of the crowd, and he was bloodied, and maybe because it was the morning, if you want to look at it literally, but New Rising Sun to me always indicates like the beginning of something. So,
right.
it's just kind of disconcerting that this might be the beginning of a bloody period. And that thing was sort of, that whole situation was sort of, I think about, what America do we want? Do we want one that's all inclusive, or do we want one with Nazis marching down the street? And if you listen to the fade out on the song, I kind of did a derivation of what the Nazis were chanting that day, which I'm not going to repeat.
No,
but my take is hate will not replace us, and that's sort of the take on that song, and that's sort of what I hope will happen is hate will not replace us, and we're very divided these days,
Yeah, man, I hope that will not be something that goes on forever, because it really, as everybody gets older, when I'm talking to people, the number one thing everybody says is that they become more kinder, they become gentler, and it's just less stress. It's a better feeling, and man, just fucking make everything a lot easier,
Oh, totally. I mean, life is hard enough.
Yeah.
Without us kind of going against each other, and it really makes you wonder if larger forces are at play. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but it's like somebody wants to see the United States fracturing, and I don't think it's anybody in the United States, but
yeah, I don't know. I do know that social media has caused a bit of a problem, because everybody suddenly feels like, oh, I have an opinion and I'm going to fucking scream it as loud as I can from the rafters. But that caused that when everybody's screaming at the top of their lungs, man.
Yep.
Forget about social media. Imagine in your household if everybody's screaming at the top of your lungs, and fuck, that doesn't.
And nobody's listening.
Yeah, and it doesn't work, man. It's like, just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you can't just get along with other people who don't. Right. When we were kids, we're about the same age, I think.
Yeah.
In the same age group. Did you ever before you hung out with someone, say, hey, let me just have a couple of questions to ask you before I know if we could hang out?
I know.
What's your political affiliation?
Right.
What do you feel about this? I don't get that, man.
I know and that is definitely post social media. That's, everybody has a bully pulpit or a forum now, and I've been guilty of it. I mean, things have pissed me off that I've said on social media, and then I'm trying to walk some of that back, because number one, who the hell cares what I think? And number two, it's like, that is my belief. I'm not going to change it. Nobody is going to change me on that. Right. I may read and educate myself to be informed, but in the end of the day, nobody is ever going to change anybody's mind on social media. It's
100%.
It's like you're banging your head against your wall, So
it's like trying to change the price of gas or fucking a head of lettuce. It's
exactly.
Like use that energy for something positive, man.
Right. So some people write songs about,
which is great. Like. That's great. That's what music's for.
Kind of ties back to some of the tracks on this album. It's like, yep, okay, well, this is the way I really feel, and if you can dig that, that's cool, and if you can't, well,
that's okay.
You don't have to feel that way, right?
Totally, man. Just one question. That is a solo just before the last section. Is that John on the Blood on the New Rising Sun, or is that you?
Well, yeah, on the track you heard on the album, that's all John playing the lead guitar. I'm playing an acoustic, and I'm playing a Zamitis electric and open tuning for the rhythm stuff. And there's some heavier rhythm guitar on there too, but all of the lead stuff is John. And yeah, right towards the end, he sort of does this descending lead that frickin' sounds like the world coming to an end, Yeah,
and sounded great.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I've got the original version that I did with my solo, and I've played it for a couple of my friends, and it sounds more like me playing it, but having John on board was just like, kind of took it to a whole new level. He's a guitar player I've always admired, and have in the past several years have gotten to be pretty tight with him. And a friend of mine is playing bass with him, and just he's a great guitar player, great musician, great songwriter as well. And looking forward to the track that we're doing together on his new album too.
Yeah, man, I look forward to hearing that.
Yeah. Have you ever had him on your show?
Yeah, I sure did. I had him on. He's a good guy. We got along real well. He's a smart guy. He was really candid. He had some really interesting stories talking about, I think he grew up in like Alaska, like if I remember correctly,
yeah.
remote part of Alaska.
Yep.
And all of a sudden he comes to either Washington or Philly.
Philly.
And then I don't know how I remember this. And then he's hearing like the N-word on a regular basis. And he's like, holy shit, what the hell is going on here? You know, I'm just from like this little town. And now I'm, you know, so that was, he had some pretty, it was pretty intense. He had some good stories, man. Really nice guy, really sweet guy, very bright person.
Very bright. And he's had this sort of production business for a long time where he's done soundtracks for The Simpsons and Deadwood and some HBO shows. And I've always admired that about a person, if they can, you know, be diverse and because he said he kind of felt the writing was on the wall with the Guitar Hero thing, because he was a guitar hero in the 80s, you know, and he kind of diversified and kept very relevant. And now the music he's putting out, I think, is his best ever music. I mean, Two Roads East was his last album, which was freaking great. And this new album, I've heard a couple tracks so far. And like I said, I'm honored to be playing with him on it.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And another song I really liked on there is Family of One. I was curious, what's the backstory to that song?
Yeah, that was one of the ones Kenny and I wrote for the Yardbirds. And I always have loved the Yardbirds. And after Kenny approached me, I kind of went back and really listened to their songs. And a lot of their songs did have a social message, whether it was Mr. You're a Better Man Than I or Shape of Things.
Great songs.
So great songs, you know. So then they had great guitar hooks, little lead parts that were sort of the recurring melodies. So I said, okay, recurring melody, social conscious lyrics, good hook. And I wrote the guitar line in that at first and sent it to Kenny, and Kenny kind of sped it up and played the guitar lick on a lap steel, which sounded friggin' great.
Kenny plays lap guitar.
Kenny is a great lap steel player.
That's wild, man.
Yep. So then he gave that back to me, and we built the song around that. And that was the one we presented to the Yardbirds. And the lyrics I wrote about that are basically, you know, looking 100,000 feet away from the earth, towards the earth. We are a family of one. We're all part of the human race. And that's sort of a song about let's get it together. And the chorus I wrote in that song was a direct answer chorus to the Yardbird Shape of Things, where the Yardbird Shape of Things chorus goes, come tomorrow we'll all be older.
Yeah.
The chorus on this song is, now that tomorrow is here today, we've got to learn from the lessons of yesterday. And it's kind of, it was meant to sort of tie into that song and sort of be the answer record for that.
Yeah. It's like a call and response with two songs. That's pretty cool.
It is, yeah. And then, anyway, when we got the word the Yardbirds weren't going to do that track, you know, do the album, I wanted to redo that. Even though Kenny's lap steel part and the production was cool on that demo, I kind of wanted to have it more like what I had envisioned initially, which was just sort of the lead guitar part. That's the recurring lead part on there. So I kind of reworked that one. The other two Yardbird songs were Goodbye to Yesterday and The Lion King, and both of those are the exact versions that we presented to the Yardbirds. So
great, man.
The demos for the Yardbirds, I didn't really have to do anything to those. I actually changed the lead guitar part a little bit on The Lion King, but everything else was pretty much exact.
Very cool, man. Well, I'm real happy. I know the album's doing well.
Yeah.
That's great. So let me tell people where they can get it, and everybody, I would really encourage you to buy the record and definitely stream it and support Tom and everything he's doing. He's putting out some great music, and he's a warrior, and he's been in this industry a long time. You can get the physical copy of the American Garden album on his website at tomguerra.com. And again, that's Tom, T-O-M, Guerra, Guerra.com. And you can go and stream it on iTunes.com. Mm-hmm. And man, I wish you tons of success with it. And any final words? Anything you want to say about it?
We got some videos from this that are on YouTube as well. There's a video for American Garden that I was approached by an Austrian artist who said he wanted to illustrate that song. So he did a video based on his illustrations that I think came out great. So that's on YouTube for American Garden. And then there's a couple other of the songs that have videos as well. So check that out as well.
Is that on a specific channel? Like, is that your channel?
It's on my channel, which is under Mambo Sons, but
Great.
You can just put in Tom Guerra American Garden and you'll get the tracks from this album on there.
Very cool. And I've seen that video. It does look awesome.
Oh, cool. Thanks, man.
Man, Tom, I really appreciate it. I'm glad you got another record out, and I hope it continues to do well. And anything else you want to talk about, come back on the show. You're always more than welcome, man. And I always appreciate your support of the show.
Thanks. Appreciate your support of my music, and thanks so much for having me on again. It's always great, and I always click on the link when I see you post new stories on and new shows. So it's definitely something I enjoy listening to.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Everybody, Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks again to Tom Guerra. Please go check out the record. It's called American Garden. It's at tomguerra.com, Guerra, or you could stream it on iTunes or check out the videos for American Garden on Tom's YouTube channel, which is under his old other band called Mambo Sons. And make sure you go to the homepage of everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.